because on September 12th of last year, Elon Musk tweeted, "Maybe I'm just a lucky charm." What's he trying to tell us? Is he trying to tell us he's a swastika? 2022, SpaceX settled with a flight attendant who claimed Elon offered to buy her a horse in return for sexual favors, and then, and this is a quote, whipped out his erect penis. Elon made the surprise announcement that he suddenly switched parties from Democrat to Republican. Now remind me again, how do you get the color purple? Do you take something that was blue and add red?
Coming up, Jimmy Kimmel hilariously takes down Elon Musk. But the real shocker? Musk's bizarre reaction on social media. Did Kimmel hit a nerve so deep it exposed Elon's biggest insecurities? Watch as we break down the moment comedy collided with big tech. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. How can someone who calls himself a free speech absolutist also wield the block button like a lightsaber? That's the question people keep asking about Elon Musk, the man who said he bought Twitter to save free speech but seems allergic to any speech aimed at criticizing him. It's like claiming to love all music, but the moment someone plays Nickelback, you smash the radio. Musk's whole brand is wrapped around this so-called commitment to free speech. Remember, when he took over Twitter, he promised it would become a digital town square, a haven where every opinion, no matter how controversial, could find a home. He even famously tweeted, "Free speech is the bedrock of a functioning democracy."
The hole where I do my own research for you, and today I want to talk about Elon Musk. It's a weird name, right? If you've studied ancient Sanskrit as much as I have, which is a lot, then you know there aren't a lot of Sanskrit words we still use, but one we do still use is swastika. You ever heard of another human named Musk? Where does a name like that even come from? Turns out the word Musk is originally from Indian Sanskrit, and it means, are you ready for this? Small testicle.
Strong words, right? But here's the kicker. The same guy who declared himself the defender of free expression can't handle a couple of sarcastic tweets or salty memes without hitting the block button. And we're not talking about trolls or users violating guidelines. His list of blocked people includes everyone from high-profile journalists to random users having a bit of fun at his expense. One standout example? He blocked Keith Olbermann, a journalist who's never been shy about criticizing Musk's management decisions, especially regarding Twitter. Olbermann's crime. Poking holes in Musk's free speech logic with biting comments about how content moderation under Musk has been less about principles and more about personal grudges. But Olbermann isn't alone. Stephen King, yes, the horror novelist, has also been on Musk's radar for mocking his ideas, particularly when Musk suggested charging users for Twitter verification. And let's not forget the countless Twitter users who dared to meme Musk's management style. His response was swift and obvious. Block. With so many people on the receiving end, it doesn't feel like protecting free speech. It feels more like protecting his ego. It's ironic because when you think about a free speech absolutist, you imagine someone unbothered by insults or opposition. Yet Musk seems to take criticism as a personal attack, not just a difference of opinion. Blocking comedians and journalists is one thing, but, and this is where it really gets bizarre, he's even blocked users who mocked his memes. Yes, memes. Apparently Musk, the king of Twitter humor, or at least that's what he sees himself as, isn't too fond of being on the other side of the joke. For someone who posts everything from poorly aged memes to dad-level internet jokes, you'd think he'd be a better sport about it. Instead, he acts like the person who flips the Monopoly board when they start losing. But here's where things get messy. Musk's selective use of the block button flies in the face of everything he claims to stand for. If your response to free expression is to shut it down when it's aimed at you, how can anyone take your rhetoric seriously? You can't call yourself a free speech warrior and at the same time build a digital safe space for just your feelings. It's like a chef who refuses to eat their own cooking. Makes you wonder if the recipe is any good, doesn't it? Jimmy Kimmel noticed this contradiction, of course, because how could he miss it? During one of his monologues, Kimmel ripped into Musk's free speech absolutist label, calling him out for being thin-skinned and incapable of handling even the mildest criticism. Kimmel joked, "Imagine being so rich and so bored that you buy a whole website just to ignore people who hurt your feelings." Ouch. The audience loved it, and honestly, Kimmel captured what so many people were already thinking. How can someone with so much power feel so threatened by internet jokes? It's the kind of hypocrisy that practically begs to be roasted. The thing is, it's not just about Musk blocking people, it's about what that behavior says. Blocking a critic here or there isn't unusual for public figures, but for Musk, it's like a pattern. The moment someone crosses a line, his line, the block button comes out, and that sends a message. Musk's version of free speech has a limit, and that limit seems to be his ego. So here's the big question: why is someone as influential and wealthy as Elon Musk so sensitive to criticism? What is it about a sarcastic tweet or a lighthearted roast that gets under his skin? When you're talking about a guy who's literally trying to colonize Mars, you'd think he'd be too busy building spaceships to worry about Twitter beefs. Yet time and time again, he proves that his public image might be what he cares about most. Kimmel's joke wasn't just funny, it struck a nerve because it laid bare Musk's contradictions for the world to see. It's easy to preach free speech until you realize it means hearing things you don't like. And that, in a nutshell, is Elon Musk's biggest hurdle. Is his obsession with maintaining control over his image actually driving these contradictions? Maybe. Or maybe, just maybe, Musk isn't as confident in his principles as he wants everyone to believe. But what's clear is this: no matter how many people he blocks, the jokes and the criticism aren't going anywhere. They're just building up in the background, waiting for the next opportunity to poke at Musk's contradictions once again. Why does one of the richest men on the planet care so much about being cool? You'd think someone with Elon Musk's level of success wouldn't lose sleep over his public persona, but if his Twitter account is anything to go by, it feels like Musk is on a one-man mission to convince us he's the internet's favorite edgy uncle. Jimmy Kimmel picked up on this with pinpoint accuracy, roasting Musk's obsession with memes and his desperate efforts to appear relatable online. The results, as Kimmel put it, often seem less like a billionaire innovator and more like a guy going through a very public midlife crisis. We've all seen Musk's Twitter antics, the outdated memes, the forced internet humor. It's the sort of thing that gets a pity laugh at best and an eye roll at worst. Remember when he posted an ancient Doge meme like it was breaking news? The joke landed with the grace of a Tesla on autopilot, and people weren't shy about pointing it out. Then there are his infamous interactions with random Twitter users. Musk has a habit of diving headfirst into arguments over obscure internet jokes, often coming across like someone trying way too hard to fit in at the meme table. You can almost hear the collective groan whenever he tweets. Let that sink in, because how many times can you recycle the same joke before it starts to wear thin? Kimmel wasted no time skewering this part of Musk's persona. He joked about how Musk's tweets feel like an attempt to reclaim some sense of youthful coolness, saying it's as if Elon just discovered the internet and can't stop showing everyone his new toy. And honestly, he's not wrong. Musk's meme-heavy approach to Twitter might have worked 10 years ago when internet humor was still a new playground. But now, it feels like he's playing catch-up in a game where the rules have already changed. Kimmel even poked fun at Musk's midlife image, insinuating that all of this, the memes, the chaotic tweets, the constant need to engage, is less about having fun and more about Musk's thirst for validation. No billionaire has ever tried harder to make relatable internet guy a personality trait. What makes this even more interesting is the disconnect between Musk's achievements and his online persona. This is a guy who's revolutionizing electric cars, launching rockets, and even trying to put people on Mars. With all that going on, why does he need to post outdated memes to win over internet clout? It doesn't make sense. If anything, it undermines the image of someone focused on advancing humanity. Kimmel hit the nail on the head here, peeling back the layers of Musk's confidence to reveal a man who seems oddly insecure for someone who's ostensibly winning in almost every way possible. One of Musk's most criticized efforts to be cool involves his tendency to lean into internet culture without fully understanding how it works. He's like the dad who shows up at a party wearing a backward cap thinking it'll help him blend in with the kids. And it's not just the memes. His attempts to jump into Twitter conversations with cheeky replies often lack the sharp wit needed to pull them off. Instead, they come across as someone trying a little too hard to impress the room. Most people see this, yet Musk continues to double down as if sheer persistence will eventually make him the internet's favorite poster. Kimmel's roast didn't end with Musk's outdated humor. The comedian also brought up what he called Musk's midlife internet obsession, joking that a man who's already conquered so much seems determined to win at being funny online too. According to Kimmel, it's like Musk can't resist the dopamine hit of likes and retweets, even if it means embarrassing himself in the process. The joke landed hard with the audience, who laughed and applauded, clearly seeing the truth behind the punchline. At a time when billionaires rarely get called out in ways that resonate, Kimmel's humor peeled back the illusion that Musk is untouchable. But what really stood out in this whole situation wasn't just Kimmel's jokes, it was Musk's reaction to them. Instead of shrugging it off like someone who's confident in their skin, Musk took to Twitter to call Kimmel an unfunny jerk. That one tweet was almost too perfect because it validated exactly what Kimmel was saying. For someone who gets roasted on the internet daily, Musk still hasn't figured out how to laugh at himself. Instead, his response highlighted the very insecure that Kimmel was poking fun at. In a way, Musk handed more ammunition to his critics without even realizing it. When you think about it, Kimmel's roast wasn't just about specific tweets or jokes. It was about what those behaviors represent. Musk's obsession with being cool, his need to control his online image, and his inability to brush off criticism all point to a deeper issue. Despite being one of the most powerful and wealthy individuals in the world, Musk seems to crave validation from a group of people who couldn't care less about his bank account or his Tesla stocks. And that desperation to seem cool makes him an easy target for comedians like Kimmel, who can cut through the bluster with a single joke. But perhaps the most biting element of Kimmel's roast revolved around Musk's echo chamber behavior. Musk loves to position himself as a visionary free thinker, but Kimmel didn't let him get away with that. He joked about how Musk has seemingly surrounded himself with yes men and fans who cheer on every meme he posts or decision he makes, even the bad ones. This of course ties back to Musk's infamous claim of being a free speech absolutist while blocking people left and right, a theme Kimmel milked for all it was worth. Blocking critics while shouting about free speech sounds like a pretty funky absolutism to me, Kimmel quipped, drawing more laughs from an audience clearly enjoying the chance to see someone take Musk down a notch. Now, while Kimmel's jokes hit hard, Musk's reaction was what truly blew this moment into a massive cultural event. Instead of brushing it off, or laughing it off like a person secure in their skin, Musk took to Twitter with a disproportionately defensive response. He called Kimmel an insufferable nonsense propaganda puppet, which not only added some new buzzwords to the insult lexicon, but also exposed just how much Kimmel's jokes had gotten to him. If the goal was to look unbothered, Musk failed spectacularly, and predictably, Musk's tweet gave critics even more material to work with. Social media erupted after Musk's clumsy reply, with users creating an avalanche of memes to mock him. One particularly popular edit showed a crying Wojak figure clutching a laptop with captions like, "Elon looking at Kimmel jokes." On Reddit and Twitter, people flooded comment sections with screenshots of Musk's defensive tweet, some calling it the weakest clapback ever. Others added their own captions to photos of Musk, labeling him things like world's richest thin skin enthusiast. The memes weren't just jokes, they became tools to amplify Kimmel's critique, proving how humor can dismantle the power and mystique of even the most high-profile figures. What's fascinating is how quickly Kimmel's segment snowballed into a larger cultural moment. The jokes weren't limited to late-night TV. They sparked a broader conversation online and within the media about Musk's behavior, his political connections, and his handling of Twitter controversies. For a billionaire known to create headlines with his every move, the roast flipped the script, effectively turning Musk into the butt of the joke rather than the one calling the shots. The sheer volume of memes, tweets, and commentary that followed showed how comedy can be much more than entertainment. It can actually shift public discourse. Kimmel's jokes, by blending humor with sharp critique, managed to expose Musk's most glaring vulnerabilities: his thin skin, his obsession with his public image, and his undeniable contradictions. By pointing out the disparity between Musk's genius-level accomplishments and his petty online feuds, Kimmel struck at the heart of what makes Musk such a divisive figure. And Musk's response, instead of neutralizing the critique, made it worse by highlighting just how deeply the jokes had landed. For someone who prides himself on being untouchable, Musk came across as anything but. The aftermath cemented the moment's cultural significance. The memes didn't just mock Musk, they embodied a public reaction to his behavior, one that said billionaires, no matter their intelligence or power, can't fully control the narrative when there are people willing to call them out. Kimmel's segment, though humorous, underscored a larger point. Unchecked power and influence often crumble under the weight of self-inflicted irony. Musk's need to respond, his inability to let the joke slide, turned a funny late-night clip into a battleground for public perception. In a world where big tech giants seem untouchable, Kimmel's roast wasn't just a bunch of jokes strung together. It was a reminder of something important. Comedy, with its unique ability to spotlight flaws and puncture egos, can create conversations that even billions of dollars can't fully suppress. And in Musk's case, it showed that no matter how high someone climbs, they're not immune to the kind of humor that brings them down to earth. Elon Musk's reaction to Jimmy Kimmel's jokes proves one thing: even billionaires can't escape the sting of humor. Calling Kimmel an unfunny jerk after being roasted on live television didn't make Musk look strong, it made him look rattled. And that's the beauty of comedy. As the video pointed out, a joke is pure, unfiltered truth wrapped in laughter. No amount of wealth or influence can shield someone from that truth when it hits. So, is comedy the last line of defense against unchecked power? Maybe. Because as Musk just showed us, even rockets can't outfly a good punchline.